What do I think about Odell Beckham Jr. said he can't? Old Odell Beckham Jr. saying he couldn't make it off of $100 million. Am I reaction? And then he had Mike Epps co-signing him and Shannon Sharp. Well, we know why Shannon Sharp couldn't make it off of it, because when you have to pay your OnlyFans off, yeah. So when Odell Beckham Jr. said $100 million wasn't enough to last a lifetime, I'm like, well, yeah, if you give half your family your money, you buying cars and bottles of champagne, and you hanging out with 304s, and you staying at the hanging on pole dancing, yeah, you could go broke. Like, ain't you ever heard of a 401k, IRA, offshore, some accounts, bonds, stocks? Really? How do you say $100 million is not enough to live on a lifetime when people lived off of half of that or a quarter of that, and you saying they ain't enough to live on? I mean, these cats' money spending is wild. Time was a cat get a guaranteed contract, he would set his health up and his whole family. To hear a professional athlete or someone come on and say $100 million ain't enough to live on is bonkers. What in the world are you doing? And it's not like you eating like you Fat Albert. It's not like you have, well, if you got 60-11 children and you got 60-11 cars and you can only drive one car and you got 60-11 cribs and you can only live in one house at a time and you got to pay taxes everywhere, you got to pay this and pay that, yeah, it might go through it pretty quickly. It's still one of the most embarrassing things I ever heard someone say, that $100 million ain't enough to live on. That's just as bad as when Latrell Sprewell said that the $14.50 million wasn't enough to feed his family. I'm like, what you got? Water buffaloes in your house? I'm like, these people, cats be saying some. This is why you don't give everybody a platform and a microphone. Because you say something dumb, no one's going to really ever take you serious. And really, an ODB, who was a really good receiver, could have been a great one. He lived off of that one catch. He did win a championship with the LA Rams, but he kind of is like a wasted cat. He was more starstruck than actually performing on the field. And his antics, hanging out with Bieber during the playoffs and dropping passes, his antics overrode his actual game. We know more about him hanging out with Trey Songz and Bieber than we actually know about him on the field. So, he did have a little mini run with the Rams, but, he one of those kind of cats that it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda if you put more effort in. But, look, if you make $100 million, look, you can make $1 million and look pretty good for life. You make $100 million,